We met, it's like the weirdest story ever, but basically we had like this mutual friend who put us both in a group chat, and then I see like randomly some guy named Anand Clemens adds me on Snapchat, and I'm like, okay,
Snapchat
sure.
Snapchat was a big thing back then. Excuse us.
Yeah, so like later I go to find, because I look him up on Instagram, and this guy's like
everybody
in a
knows
helicopter.
how old you are, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Lonnie and I don't have Snapchat accounts. So.
Yeah, so I looked this guy up on Instagram. He's in a helicopter shooting guns, and he's also driving a Lamborghini, and I was like, oh my god, I found like the Prince of Dubai or something. This guy's like he's handsome and he's like doing all this crazy stuff.
I'm this broke exchange student, just getting lucky left, right, and center.
I thought he was like, I didn't even know if he had money or not, but I was like, whatever this guy's doing, like, it's super cool.
You're listening to My Supercar World, a Post Oak Motor Cars production from Houston, Texas.
Hello, everybody. Diane Kaplan here with My Supercar World and my co-host, Lonnie Souza. Welcome to our premiere episode. We're so excited today because we have got the founders of the Exotics Network. I mean, Lonnie, you and I were talking a little bit ago. They kind of came out of nowhere, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, who are these guys? And they've hit the internet and the social media like crazy. And like you said, they've inspired us, and we've been so thrilled having them to be partners with and stuff over this last year. So we wanted to kind of share them with the world. So
yeah, I mean, we thought it was kind of cool that, you know, you guys kind of just came out of nowhere and had this big presence, and thank you for including us, you know, and kind of brought us into the mix, and we didn't know what we were getting into, and but what we're seeing we like a lot, but we didn't want to explain it ourselves. We thought it would be fair to kind of bring you on and have you tell us a little bit about everything. Like, how did you get it started? Who thought of it? Like, how did you get to be as big as you are?
Well, introduce yourselves first. Kind of tell us who you are, a little bit of background about it yourselves, how y'all met, how this all came about.
For sure. Well, first of all, it's an absolute honor being the first guests of the podcast. I don't know how we're worthy of this, but apparently we're not. But apparently we've been chosen.
Give yourself more credit.
Yeah.
So thank you all.
No.
Do you want to start?
No, I mean, also, I just want to say thank you so much. We don't know how we're in this position either. You know, kind of just the same way y'all think. We just flung onto the scene. It's, you know, we're kind of also a passenger on our own ride. And so, but I guess, we'll just get right into it. So I'm Adonis. I'm a co-founder of the Exotics Network. Touch a little bit on the childhood, I guess. From South Texas. So unlike this guy, I'm actually Texas born and raised. Grew up in Mission, and then, you know, I've always been kind of like a nerd. So I studied computer engineering at UT Austin, and that's where we met. So it's kind of the segue into that.
So my name is Anand Clemens. I'm a co-founder of the Exotics Network. Back to the basics first. I'm from Austria, so I came as an exchange student, came to UT, and the goal was to figure out a way to stay in the States, not have to, you know, finish my degree back in the UK where I started my degree. Ultimately, that's where I met Adonis. I think it was one semester into my exchange here in Texas. And we were both on a similar, you know, we had similar mindsets, as in we were both, you know, I was studying computer science with business management. He was studying computer engineering with a minor in entrepreneurship. And we both knew that, we were going to graduate in the next 6 months, but we did not want to go ahead and get that corporate 9-to-5, you know, computer engineering, computer science job. And we knew we wanted to start something. And that's where we kind of, you know, just had our passions merge, and our passions being, I was always the huge supercar fanatic.
So you're the car person.
Yes. So between the two of us, I'm more of the car person. Adonis is more of...
Yeah, I'm just the people person. You know, I always like would watch The Great Gatsby and see him kind of there hosting his parties, looking over the empire, and I was like, that seems really cool. So I was
that's us too. She's the car nut.
I'm the car nut, and
Yeah. So I like people. I like, you know, building relationships and building a community and everything. So I don't even think I ever worked on like building a social group like this. I did, you know, in school. I was captain of the science team in 8th grade. Shout out Mission Junior High. But other than that, yeah, this is kind of, my first entrance into anything like that. And I didn't know anything about cars. Like, I thought that the most expensive car in the world was a Corvette, and so, which Corvettes are awesome, by the way.
He's like, oh my God.
Shout out for Tina Chevrolet. But yeah, I didn't know anything else. And so whenever I met this guy, I'll let him tell a story about the supercars.
Well, basically, I had moved to Texas, and I was expecting to see lots of supercars. Austin is this up-and-coming city. It's one of the reasons I chose Austin as my exchange, because everyone was talking about this new city in Texas.
And give me some, what year was this? When was?
This was 2022.
This was 2022. No, 2023, I think.
Okay.
And
Right?
August.
And for the record, Austin is so not a new city.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're getting that
Right,
from.
No. It was
Growing city.
It kind of like, for us Europeans, Austin came onto the map like in 21, 22, right?
Because
It was
of
like,
COVID and stuff.
I guess so, but it was
All
just
the
like,
tech
that
bros.
is the city you want to be. Like, this is the new up and coming city in the US. And then obviously this is the city that's putting Texas on the map and all
Right.
that. So that's one
so
of the reasons.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
how
one of the
the
reasons I
perception.
chose.
Yeah.
UT Austin. And then, thinking this would be like this gem of a city. And then I show up and, I'm a huge supercar fanatic. And
Right.
for the first month, I haven't seen a
You're like, I
single
don't see
supercar.
anything.
Month 2, no supercars. I'm like, where am I? I'm on 6th Street. This is like the most popular street. And it's just like,
I see
all
nothing.
the buildings are like wretched. I was like, what is this?
all right, hold it down.
The bars
Take a
and,
step back.
and the sticky floors when you walk
Exactly.
in.
I was just a little confused. So we do this road trip to Dallas. So this is obviously not the city that I chose, but I go to
This
Dallas.
is before we met, by the way.
Oh yeah, this is
Right, got it.
And then that was the first time I see a supercar in Texas. I
What
see this
was it?
red Lamborghini Huracan Evo modified with a Rift exhaust, Rift spoiler, all that. And it's pulling up on the street, and we're at a crosswalk. I'm with some of my exchange student friends, and I couldn't believe this is like the first supercar in Texas I've seen.
Oh my
So I walk
God.
up to the guy, and I tell him, like, this is insane. Like, this is the first supercar I'm seeing in Texas. And he says, hop in. And
No
I'm like,
way.
Yeah. So he's like, hop in, and I'm like, what?
Please tell me you still know this person
Yes,
today.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh, that's awesome.
This person is one of, one of the reasons we're here. He kind of enabled a lot in the beginning. So I hop in the car with him, takes me around.
Left all his friends, by the way. He forgot about them. Was like, I'm going with this Lambo.
Oh yeah, this is a great opportunity. So I hop in with him. He takes me around Dallas for like 15 minutes, nothing crazy. I get his number. Turns out he's from Austin, and
Oh
we
my God.
stay in contact. And then he was a bit of a crazy guy. A week later, he invited us to his house. I took all my exchange student friends with me. He had a 720S, obviously his Huracan Evo. He had a C8. He had an M8, and he literally gave us all the keys to all of his cars. And he's like, "Go have fun."
No way.
Oh my God.
This is crazy. I mean, he came with us, and he was in his Bentley, I think, and we all went out for like a joyride in Austin. And this was like this is one of those moments where you're just like, how is this real?
Wow.
Yeah. So then over the course of the next couple of months, he would let me take out his Huracan to meet individuals to start, creating some sort of relationships with the other exotic car owners in town.
So you kind of had an idea you wanted to do something.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The goal was always to figure out how to stay in the U.S. by building a business that would enable, my stay in the U.S. And obviously that would be focused around my passion, which was the
Cars.
exotic car world.
Got it.
This is when I met Adonis.
Yeah, so we met. It's like the weirdest story ever. But basically, we had like this mutual friend who put us both in a group chat, and then I see like randomly some guy named Anand Clemens adds me on Snapchat, and I'm like, okay,
Snapchat
sure.
was a big thing back then. Excuse us.
Yeah, so like later I would go to find, because I look him up on Instagram, and this guy's like
Everybody
in a
knows
helicopter.
how old you are, by the way.
Yeah,
Just by saying
exactly.
Snapchat, so.
Lonnie and I don't have Snapchat accounts. So.
Yeah, so I looked this guy up on Instagram. He's in a helicopter shooting guns, and he's also driving a Lamborghini. And I was like, oh my God, I found like the Prince of Dubai or something. This guy's like, he's handsome and he's like doing all this crazy
I'm
stuff.
this broke exchange student, just getting lucky left, right, and center.
I thought he was like, I didn't even know if he had money or not, but I was like, whatever this guy's doing, like, it's super cool, right? And so I was also in the point in my life where I was like I was doing computer engineering, but I'm not the best computer engineer. So I was like, I don't think I'm gonna have that much like success going down this route. And I was like, I've always been super into not networking for the sake of business, but like just making friends that are cool. And so when I see this guy, I add him back on Snapchat, and then also some context. back when I was in school, I did photography and like photo editing for, I don't know, 8 years or so. And so, and I had, when I worked in the refineries with my dad back like during COVID, I saved up enough money to buy a camera, a lens, a drone, etc. And, but then when I got to college, I didn't really have time to use it. So then on Snapchat one day, after I added this guy, I see that he just posts like, hey, does anyone have a camera that I can borrow? And I was like, oh boy, do I. And so so I tell him like, hey, here, I have this camera, this lens, blah, blah, blah. You could just have it, right? You just borrow it, whatever. And then he thought that I was joking because he's like, who the hell?
I couldn't believe that he was, willing to give away this bag worth 15 grand of camera equipment.
It was my entire net worth, by the way. I didn't have anything else.
To a stranger who we just connected on Snapchat briefly. I'll tell the backstory behind why we needed the camera gear. So as an exchange student, I came here, and one of the big things was like, the U.S. university culture, fraternities were a big thing.
Right.
And for us, like, it was like, okay, so at the fraternities, you meet all the sons of the CEOs, all the big, the people you want to meet when you're here. They hang out at fraternities. Whether you like the fraternity lifestyle or not, so we had to figure out a way to get invited to those events. So we built this media agency called the Exchange Network, which was
got
which was the original TEN, which ultimately turned into the Exotics Network down the line. But it was the Exchange Network. It was a joke around the fact that we're all exchange students. We're building a network of exchange students.
Yeah, clever.
So we sold this media package to these fraternities, offering that we're going to create this international media, send it out to our home universities, promote these fraternities at these in all these cities around the
genius.
Yeah, and they all bought it up, and they were like, oh my God, sign us up. They were paying us for it, but we had no experience with creating media.
We never held a camera in his life besides his phone.
Exactly. So then we started posting on our private Snapchat stories like, who has experience, who's got a camera we can borrow. We have to fulfill these gigs for these fraternities to get in. And he offered up a $15,000 camera bag, and nobody else had done that. So we were just so I was like taken aback by his generosity.
Wow.
And it's just like willingness to help a complete stranger on Snapchat to a private story.
That's funny.
That's when I walked into your lobby and you walked down in your pajama pants and your $15K bag.
Yeah. And so after that, I mean, we ended up doing the gig because whenever I gave him the bag, I told him, okay, here's the rundown, everything's in here. And I told him about the drone, and he's like, oh, that's super cool, but none of us know how to fly a drone. Can you fly it for us? And I was like, well, not only does this guy take my equipment, but now he wants free labor. Like, But yeah, so I'm like, absolutely. So I go and I fly the drone for them, and then that's whenever, we really got to spend time together. By the way, it was
a gig for Summer Rae, who's like one of the biggest fitness influencers on Instagram.
Oh my God, how
millions
funny.
of followers.
Yeah, I think the frat paid her like $40,000 for an appearance. It was something like, absurd.
Yeah,
but
we were doing the official media for that. None of us, you kind of knew what you were doing.
Yeah. So we flew the drone, whatever, and then after that, we just stayed connected. We became buddies. He introduced me to all his exchange friends, and then slowly but surely, all of them started going home. This one's the only one who stuck around.
Yeah, everybody gave up on the American dream. All my exchange student friends. So I was the only one who was like, oh, I got to figure out a way how to do this, and it was a lot. Primarily through you as well. Ultimately, I stayed at his couch in the summer when I was supposed to go back to the UK. Yeah. I stepped at his couch and then figured out the whole visa thing, and then just did one step at a time. And that's when we realized, like, all right, whatever we do after this, we're gonna stick together and make it big, or whatever we end up trying to create.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that couch was a legendary couch because we had that typical like bro talk of like, we got to start a business. We had no idea what we were gonna do. Like at that time, it was just the Exchange Network, and that was his baby. And we were like, we're gonna do something. We're not sure how. But that's kind of the basic origin story.
Okay, there is so much to dig into.
I know.
First. Where's your? I hear your accent here. I feel like you're hiding it.
He's from West Houston.
When that should be very much something that works for you, man. You need to like bring it back because
Lean
all the
into
ladies
it.
are going to be like,
it's funny. We talked about this on the ride over here right now. I used to have a more distinct foreign accent, whereas now I've been hanging out with all these Americans, so I've kind of lost 95% of it.
Yeah. Whenever we first met, he called me Adonis, and I was like, nah, close. But yeah, now he says y'all and stuff. So
Oh man, you got to bring the accent back though.
Yeah. Well, so I have a bit of a UK twang because that's where I studied for 2 years, and then before that, I grew up in Austria, but I also went to boarding schools in the Czech Republic, and then in India as well.
Wow.
So it's just a bit of everything. It's just a mishmash.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the next thing I got to address is I had no idea. So I'm aware that there's a lot of exchange students in American universities, but you guys all get together, right? And you kind of create this like your own little network, obviously the exchange network, which was kind of cool. That's neat to know.
Yeah,
And
ultimately we try to integrate with the U.S. community as much as we can, but the exchange students kind of find each other because everyone's here for a limited amount of time, and you got to make it count. And with other exchange students, they have that same mindset. So you're just like every single day you try to meet the craziest people, do the craziest things, make the most of your short limited time here. And then obviously in my case, my goal was to extend that and figure out the whole visa situation to make this a permanent thing, which I'm on path to do. I haven't. Yeah.
Yes, you're supposed to be going back to Austria for some appointments, right?
Yes. April 10th is the big day. So if that works out, I get a 5-year extension. To work exclusively on 10.
It was either that or that's when I offered I would marry him.
Hey, I'm first in line. It's me first, all right?
And then we were going to blow it up on social media because we figured we could go viral with that wedding. We could do this like supercar wedding and stuff.
Oh my God, yeah.
We've already got the whole roadmap planned out. So I'm like, I got you.
You got backup. We won't play this part of the interview until after we know. That way, in case you have to use it, right? Yeah. So
that's right.
Oh my God. So, I mean.
No. I still got stuff. I'm going to forget if I don't ask.
That is true.
So now I also heard now that fraternities, which is part of Greek life, and I have 2 daughters about to go to college, and they're wanting to pursue this whole sorority deal. And I see the fees associated with, right? Astronomical. And then you're telling me they spent $40,000 to have a
That's where the fees
exactly.
Yeah. Now I know where my money's going to go. This is killing me.
Summer rate, yeah.
Okay. Oh gosh. Oh. Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah. And my last thing before Diane, I know she's itching to get into some questions
No,
here,
it's
but
all good.
I love this. Like I'm hearing a lot from this. Is I want to acknowledge that hearing your story and knowing where you've kind of come from and where you're at now. Very much an entrepreneurial spirit to begin with, right? And so, I mean, and that's not, some people have it and some people don't, and a true entrepreneur is going to try something, they fail, get up, try something again, try something different, and then here you are ending up, you're filming fitness stars at fraternities and now you've got the exotic network and you're mingling with some of the most successful people in the country who have the best and biggest collections that people get to see. And, what we're hoping is we can get a peek under the covers, right, with some of your network and some of our clients where we bring them on the show, interview them and learn about their passions, why they're passionate about any particular vehicle, ask them some questions, and then also find out what their background was, what led them to be as successful as they are. So this is going to be some cool stuff we got coming.
I know.
There's some really interesting people on our network. Really, really cool stories.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I mean, so let's kind of fast forward. You've started this. What was y'all's first event that really, what do you think kind of set y'all off?
Well, the first ever event was, at this point, we had been using this red Lamborghini that this guy had,
Let's just throw his keys to.
Yeah. So we had been, going to all the shows in Austin, and then whenever there was something going on in Houston or Dallas or San Antonio, we would hop in Adonis's truck and we would just drive out there and try to meet as many people as possible. So we had built this small network of around, 25 to 30 contacts in our phone book, the individuals that were willing to give us their numbers through those times we met them at different shows. So then this club on 6th Street, actually, Mayfair, reached out saying that they wanted to, I forgot how exactly we got connected, but they wanted to do something with supercars. And it's funny because Mayfair, when I was an exchange student, it was super hard to get into, and we would get denied. And now they're reaching out to us.
Now they're like, hey,
we want to get you and do a VIP, ultra VIP event. So we talked to them and saw that they had their 1-year anniversary, and they wanted to bring out some supercars. And we told them that the only way this is going to happen is if you can give us like an ultra VIP offer that we can give to our members or whatever it was, people in our phone book at that point. So that we can entice them to come out. Because we always, from the very beginning, our whole core principle was to offer the highest amount of value for the least amount of, price or whatever it may have been. The value discrepancy has to be as high as possible. So Mayfair was a good example. They gave everyone, a complimentary section at this opening We had, complimentary drinks for everyone, reserved parking, immediate ultra VIP treatment for everybody who showed up, and there was no price associated for the owners. So that was like, an immediate...
Kind of your business model,
exactly.
kind
That's
of the
where,
way
exactly.
came up.
That's how that value discrepancy started up there. And then we had 15 owners that filled out their entire parking lot, show up with their cars. It was on 6th Street. 6th Street was shut down for a certain amount of time. It was like this whole stunt. And that's when we realized, like, this is something it wasn't a big event. The one, do you want to touch on the Pershing one?
Yeah, so not immediately after that, but a couple of weeks after that, F1 was rolling into town. And so we were like, okay, we need to do something around F1. And, the first instinct was, and this is kind of like, I'm sure we'll touch on later on, is that we have a recurring theme of like, since we were small, we knew that we couldn't generate the hype ourselves. So we would always find a big thing like to attach ourselves onto and to piggyback off of.
Right.
So if F1 was the thing in town, then we're doing Road to F1. If there's another thing in town, we're doing Road to that thing. So, but for F1 specifically, since we had just done that Mayfair event, we're like, okay, we need to do something. We reached out to, or I don't know how we got connected to the Pershing, but we got connected to them, and then we hosted something with like a little speaking panel.
For reference, real quick, the Pershing is like this members-only club in East Austin, and members include Elon Musk, Joe Rogan. So it is from, it's a very good spot to begin with.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there, we just marketed the heck out of it. That's the first time that I think we ever used a Posh platform. And so we were just trying to get people out there. And this guy was just like, how do we write this copy or like this text message so that it's like the most enticing to get people there? And it ended up working. So we did some marketing.
So it went from 15 cars at the first event, and then we had 30 at Pershing, which is also pretty much the capacity of their parking lot. It's also a very small venue. And that's when,
that was also the first time we ever had a sponsor. So
really?
Expel had, they heard about what we wanted to do, and they're like, oh, like how do we get in front of this audience? Like, what can we do? And then
write a check.
Yeah, write a check. We worked out the deal that we thought was like the biggest in the world, and it was I think $500 or so. I don't know how much it was.
It was between $500 and $1,000.
Yeah,
and that was a huge aha moment because we realized like, all right, this is a huge passion of ours, and it's working. We're building this community centered around cars, but we can get paid. Like this, Expel approached us saying they want to pay to be at this event. And we were like, oh my God, this at scale, maybe we might be able to create something huge.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just after that event, that event went very well. And then
Expel ended up bringing cones. That's it. Like
it.
We couldn't believe.
Did they have a tent?
We had everything. Like we had this area for them. We had, this section, all that. And they brought out cones with Expel. And we were like, they're paying us,
to have cones.
To have cones, like we were just a little confused.
Well, they probably realized that the $500 or $1,000 that they wrote a check for was like cheap.
Right.
Yeah.
They would have wrote a check for a bigger.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, this is
money.
cones are probably worth $500.
Right.
We should probably spend $5,000 before we put a tent out there.
Right.
Yeah. To be fair though, like in their defense, I guess like that since that was our first time ever, we had no process. Like now, as y'all are partners, which I don't even know if we mentioned in the podcast yet, but we have a great partnership between the Exotics Network and Post Oak Motor Cars. So now we do things like having fulfillment reports and having constant communication and meetings.
And that goes back to why we even partnered with y'all because we, I don't know how it came across my desk, but I got the Hypercar Genesis sponsorship deck came through my email, and I'm like, oh God, here's another, because I get hit up like every day for sponsorships and stuff. And I remember looking at it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to these guys, but I always have this problem. Lonnie knows this about me. I'm like, car shows, that's my jam. That's my thing. I've put on many of them, and so I'm very particular on who we partner with and stuff, and they have to be organized because most of these guys aren't.
Yeah.
And they don't fulfill what they're going to promise us, and we bring cars out, and we'll bring the Bugatti, and then nothing is ever the way we want it. And so we did that event. Lonnie and Blake fly in on the helicopter.
Which was crazy.
Yeah, of course. And, we brought out the Bugatti. We had the Bugatti shipped up there, and every single thing y'all told me you were going to do, you did, and after the fact. And then I got a rap report after the event, and I said, Lonnie, you don't understand. I'm the only other person I know that's ever presented clients with a rap report after. Like, this is how much engagement, this is how many impressions, every single thing, they have hit it. I'm like, I'm blown away.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And so that really is what continued. I was like, Lonnie, totally in love with these two. I mean, they're just
So question. So you don't have to give me the details about it, but from going back to your first sponsor that you really didn't plan on,
Right.
that paid you $500 or $1,000, to let's say last year, since we got a full year last year, what did you raise in sponsorship for the Exotic Networks in 2024?
So for the second half, the first time we did long-term contracts was the second half of 2024.
right.
Yeah, that was the first time.
That's when we came back
That's when-
on, right?
that's when you
After
came on.
Hypercar Genesis.
Before that,
is
it was
when-
event by event sponsorship.
Right.
They were
Yeah.
all, like, pretty
So for
low.
that 6-month term, we raised around $140,000. And then this year, it's obviously, the magnitude has just gotten a lot bigger with the events. So
Because now you're going nationwide too.
Yeah.
This is
So
the
what's
first
your
time.
expectation for this year?
So this year we're sitting at around 400 to 500.
So from
See.
$500 to $400 to $500,000 in sponsorships.
Yes, sir.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Guys.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And this started when? What year?
This started
The first event, 22,
the end of
23?
2023.
To the end of
Yes.
2023.
Yeah.
What a short amount of time.
And believe it or not, the LLC for the exotic, because we talked about how the exchange network came first.
Yeah.
The LLC for the exotics network was actually created, I think, July 2nd or 3rd of 2024. So it's been around for less than a year.
It's been
wow. Well,
been
look.
quick.
So
look
when
at
we
you guys.
say out of nowhere, this is.
You came out of nowhere. Yeah.
But then that goes to one of my questions on how much social media has played a part in your success.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
I'll let you take that one.
I mean, media, even though it was a bit of a hoax at the very beginning with the exchange network, has quickly, as soon as we did that first gig for that, for Summer Rae and that fraternity, it was ZVT for reference. Media has just been like a core part of our business, because the exchange network has since then become a real tangible business, and we
Right.
basically leverage videographers and editors across Texas to come and shoot these events. And
It's also notable to say, sorry to cut you off, is that he's not here right now, but we do have like one dedicated creative director at the
Yes.
moment, who's Salvador Chava. And so he's not here with us, but he has also been super, super vital in this entire process. Like we appreciate all the nice things y'all say about us, but it's not just us two. We have a team.
I mean, he's literally at the event, not eating dinner because he's over in the
Exactly,
corner
yeah.
editing during these events. I've witnessed it
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And so
Shout
I'm
out
like,
to
please
Salvador.
sit down
Shout out to
and
Chava,
eat. He's
seriously.
like, I will 1 second, Diane. I've got to finish this editing. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. But sorry, I'll let you get back to it.
So Salvador Chava, he runs, he's the creative director of the Exchange Network. And what he puts on before an event, for example, what we do is he creates this media team. We have these, this network of videographers that want to shoot this event. And for, some events, we're not really limited to a number. So we can take up to like 40 videographers to shoot this event. And then all these videographers have their own personal profiles that they're building. They're all creators. They're all very, very talented creators. So they create content for their personal profiles, which then gets shared and then gets shared to our profiles as well. So it's this huge network effect of people creating independent content, but
Exactly.
also leveraging that content for us to use, for Salvador to edit into, the content that you see.
But participating in your event, they have to forfeit the rights to their footage, right?
Well,
Is
not-
that how you do it,
Not
kind of?
necessarily. So this is actually why we think we've seen so much success with this, is because the approach isn't come out and shoot and then we own everything you shoot. The approach rather is it's like a collaboration. So
Right.
not I mean sometimes in the exact sense of on Instagram collaboration, but more so. We know that these creators are super talented, and even if they're not like the best, if they're just super passionate and they want to go and get their reps in, then we'll invite them out to the event, have them be a part of the official media team if they're selected, and they make all of their own content, and then we will promote them. They tag us, and so it's a mutual benefit.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly.
And a win-win. And even I can see this even photographers or videographers that are up. It's also a chance for them to hone in their talents, right?
Absolutely.
So what you're giving them is you're giving them a venue, a palette
Access to things.
to work with,
training.
and then they can master their craft because you're giving them the space to do it.
Exactly.
And you guys get to share back and forth. That's an amazing.
Yeah.
And it costs you
Zero.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we've
What
been,
a great business plan.
We've always been extremely lean. I don't know if we want to touch on our salaries, but
Yeah, we can. We pay ourselves $1,800 a month. So it's a little
Yeah.
under 24,000. Or no, is it?
Yeah,
but somewhere on there.
And it's the reason we pay us that is because it's all we need as of right now. You know, our rent is around $700 a month. We pay for groceries. Our office is complimentary at Circuit of the Americas.
That's
we
awesome.
have no cost.
That's awesome too. That's got a whole lot of value right there.
Well, Coda's been a great sponsor with y'all as well. So
So we try to keep those, the actual hard costs of the business as low as possible, and then every single sponsorship dollar that we get gets reinvested into the business, into these events.
Yeah.
And that's what makes these events so spectacular, and that's what keeps the discrepancy of the value we offer to exotic car owners so high, because the cost for them is always very low.
Yeah. But you do have some kind of cost for the owners to participate in certain events.
In certain events, yeah. So
Right.
if there's an event that's going to cost us, an absurd amount to put on, we can't have it be for free. So, for example, the one that we did in California,
like at the montage,
yes,
they
exactly.
have to buy their dinner or whatever.
Precisely, yeah. And so we try to keep the events free. Like if it's an audience, if it's like members of our community that already have experience with us and they like we have a really firm relationship, they feel a little bit more comfortable to pay for an event. If we're going into a new region though, and they don't have any experience with the exotics networks, like most of the time we don't want to charge there. So it's kind of just push and pull, like we just feel it out, and then our pricing kind of depends on like who we're selling to. Right. But yeah, we wanted to mention that all the money gets reinvested to the events, because whenever we say the number of $400,000, it sounds like, oh, these guys are rich, but no, they're so poor.
It's not. Well, and people don't realize how expensive events are to put on, even car show events.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a longtime businessman myself, I would advise you that there is a balance, right? And so, look, there's probably going to be a point that investors will probably come your way, or private equity or something. They're going to want you to make an income. They're going to want you to make a comfortable income, so that one of the worries that you don't have is, how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to put food on the table? And then you're mingling with a crowd that's very elevated, and you got to be able to hold your own at some point in time at a dinner table or at a bar. So I would say that you shouldn't apologize if you've got sponsorship that's continuing to grow. You should be able to pay yourself more money, because that's part of the business. You're putting all this together. You deserve to have some return on investment too, because your time is your investment, right? Your sweat equity is your investment into this company. So everybody deserves a return on their investment. And again, I don't think there's an investor that would look at your business and frown upon you taking a decent percentage of what you've raised to put on these events. So I would encourage you to reconsider that.
We told ourselves.
Well, and I told them they need to start charging memberships for the owners.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's
so many different ways they can go.
There's a lot of forks in the road, and you're going to find that you're going to run down one path and go, oh, that was probably a wrong turn, and come back and redo it again. Just give yourself
multiple times.
We said that we'll give ourselves a raise once we, and not even like a super significant raise, but we'll get a raise once we gross $1 million a year.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
So we've basically committed to 2025. We're going to stick to this, and everybody in the team is doing that 1,800, and then we'll reevaluate depending on.
If anyone's getting a raise, it's our other team members before us.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah. You guys you all see that there's a bigger picture. Obviously, that's why you're doing what you're doing. I get it too. Man, amazing that it's come together again so fast. We mentioned it earlier, and again, to hear your story becomes more and more inspirational. So very happy and very proud of you guys. So I feel like we've got such a good vibe here that we could keep going on, and I think we will. But we're probably going to have to stop this and create a second segment for our viewers to view. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes for this portion of the podcast, and then just pick up on the very next one, and we'll pick up where we left off. Thanks, folks.
Okay, everybody, don't forget, we are going to be dropping this episode soon. Follow Instagram, Facebook, My Supercar World, mysupercarworld.com, YouTube, My Supercar World, anywhere you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, be sure to follow. Thanks.
And where about your websites?
Oh, yeah. And plug y'all's own stuff.
Well, the website's still in production, but you can follow us on all social medias. The Exotics Network, we're on there. You'll find us. And then I'll let Anand take the next event.
The next event is actually one of our largest events yet. It's called the Texas Grand Tour. We're bringing Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin together for, we're trying to break 2 records. Number 1, the largest exotic rally in the history of Texas. And number 2, the largest exotic parade in the history of CODA. That's 26th and 27th of April. You'll see it on all over our socials.
Who's going to be leading the rally from Houston?
And Post Oak Motorcars is running the Houston rally.
Yes, we are. We're so excited. Yeah.
So join us for the next event. We'd love to have you out there.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Let's go.
My Supercar World is produced by Post Oak Motorcars, where opulence reigns supreme in the heart of Texas.